Hello, everybody. Welcome into Play Like a Jet Live with You Stadium. We have made it, guys. There is one more day until the 2021 NFL Draft. Clay is excited. I'm excited. Clayton, how you going, man? We have made it.
Dude, I'm so happy it's here. Like I love, as much as I love the draft, it's Christmas Day for me, but I hate draft week. It lingers, especially working on 9 to 5. Like it just lingers. So I'm just ready for tomorrow to get here. I'm excited.
We have got a hell of a show for you guys today. We have wide receiver out of Auburn, Anthony Schwartz, fastest man in the draft. He's going to be joining us in about 5 minutes. I cannot wait to sit down with him, talk about his draft journey and everything he's gone through over the last couple of months, the COVID-filled season. We're going to go through a fan, expert, writer mock draft. So we reached out to people from all 32 NFL teams, well, those that had picks in the first round anyway, and we went through a mock draft. We're going to highlight some of the picks we liked, some of the reaches, some of the things we found interesting. And we're going to finish off with some more Jets mock draft action. So Clay and I are going to jump on PFN and go through a 7-round mock draft, step into Joe Douglas's shoes and go to action. So Clay, let's start with some of the rumors that have been in the NFL over the last couple of days. We just mentioned, how frustrating draft week is and some of those rumors. Talk to me about some of the ones that have jumped out to you, especially around New England and the quarterback carousel and what might happen there.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we saw Teddy Bridgewater get traded to Denver earlier today, and that opens up a lot. I mean, I don't think it necessarily takes Denver out of the race for a quarterback. I mean, I see a report here from Schefter. I mean, it doesn't like they're still willing to take a quarterback if they will like one that falls. I don't know if they'll trade up for one now, but if one falls to them at 9, they might still be in the market. But I think this does open some things up for New England. Now, if Denver isn't going to make the move up, now New England might not have to feel a need to go up to 7 or maybe go up to 4 if they want one. They can probably go up to 8 if Carolina is okay with moving back. But they haven't even exercised Sam Darnold's 5th year, so they can still be in the market for a quarterback. So the quarterback, like after the first 2, and we kind of have an idea what's going to happen at 3 with San Francisco, they've made their choice in their head. That's the report. They're keeping it close to the vest. So, I mean, I don't know if that kind of locks in Mac Jones, which is the name that's been said all along, or if they're keyed in on someone else. But we're hearing a lot of rumors with quarterbacks. I mean, the Lions, the Bears, the football team, the Patriots, the Broncos, Panthers, as we mentioned, so many teams can still use a quarterback. And so, I mean, tomorrow's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy in that top 10.
Yeah, I think New England's one that really stands out to me. We just touched on it then. I know Nick reported on Play Like a Jet last night that he doesn't think New England will get as high as 4 or 6. And if they are to come up for a quarterback, look for number 8 at Carolina or possibly number 10 with Dallas. They might be the sweet spots for New England without giving up too much to draft a quarterback. Clay, you see a lot more action with trades down the bottom half of the draft. And teams like New Orleans are always in the action. Green Bay and Seattle will often trade down. Obviously, Seattle doesn't have a first this year. What are some moves you think might be coming at the back end of the first round based on what you're hearing and people are saying just a day out from the NFL draft?
I mean, the first team you mentioned sticks out more than anything. This New Orleans Saints. They are a sleeper and very, very, very sleeper team to trade up for a quarterback. I don't think they'll move up that high. But Mickey Loomis is aggressive, and he came out and said like it's about quality, not quantity, and he doesn't care if he has 10 picks, 12 picks throughout the draft. Like he'll gladly leave Saturday with 3 new guys on his roster if those are 3 guys that he really wants. Like that's all he's going to care about. So, and there's a report that I think Caleb Farley actually put it out there that he's gotten the idea that the Saints would be willing to move up for him. And someone else said that they feel like they need to get in front of Tennessee in order to get him. I mean, I've honestly been going back and forth with my buddy who's a diehard Saints fan. And he's all about it. Like he likes Farley. I think it's just still too big of a risk for the Saints to take him. But even if it's not for Farley, I think the Saints could move up. They can make a move up for Bateman if they really want an edge rusher to kind of go in that rotation with Davenport and Cam Jordan, because Trey Hendrickson obviously left. They want to make a move up for, say, I don't know, a Quiddy Pay. They can do that. I mean, I'm not going to rule anything out from the Saints. They are very aggressive. They have never traded down since Mickey Loomis has been the GM. Never traded down, which is crazy. So I can definitely see something from them. Baltimore with their 2 first-round picks, you got to keep an eye on them as well, just because, I mean, maybe, again, I think receivers going to be big with them. I think they're going to target a Marshall, a Bateman, maybe one of the bigger guys rather than like an Elijah Moore, Kadarius Toney. So Baltimore's another team to keep an eye on. I think it's going to be interesting in the back end, but like, because it's such a weird year, we don't know what to expect in terms of how much teams are going to want to give up in order to get their guys, just because so many of these guys are still unknowns because COVID just ruined 2020.
It is going to be the wildest draft in a very long time, Clay. And if you want the best draft coverage and an intense draft party, you need to check out U Stadium and Play Like a Jets virtual draft party tomorrow, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern time, an hour before the draft. Make sure you come and check it out. Play Like a Jets' very own Scott Mason will be hosting it. Nick and Frank and Bree and the entire team, Splash, they'll be over there from U Stadium. And some incredible guests will be coming on. CJ Mosley, Jamison Crowder, Melon Fonwu, the cornerback out of Syracuse, who the Jets may be targeting in the 2nd or 3rd round. Hunter Henry, now our enemy over in New England. So it's going to be exciting, Clay, and I know you're looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm definitely going to have it on while we're watching the draft tomorrow. I know there's a couple other names that they're potentially bringing in. I'm not going to spoil anything just in case they don't, but it's going to be a good time. Scott Mason, and if you listen to us, you're most likely listening to Play Like a Jet, the daily podcast with Scott. So it's going to be a good 3-4 hours.
Yeah, as we mentioned at the top, we're about to have Anthony Schwartz on, wide receiver from Auburn. An incredible speed element that he brings to the field. Had 3 really successful years at Auburn after playing high school in Florida and being a high school runner. Before he comes on, Clay, have you had a chance to watch Anthony and what's your take on his game and where he's at and the fit for the Jets?
Yeah, I was able to watch him the other night, and Auburn's a tough watch. To be honest, I think they underutilized him. But what I did see, he runs a lot of vertical routes. He runs he goes in motion, I feel like every other play. And I think that's how a team like the Jets would want to use him. They'd kind of want to use him in that Debo Samuel kind of role. And people think about his speed. Like when you think about speed, you normally think of like, all right, he's probably like 5'9", 5'10", $170. No, he's actually he's a pretty decent sized guy. He's 6 foot. I don't have the weight off the top of my head. But and he's actually a decent-sized guy. He's not afraid to put down the shoulder and run through a guy if he has to. Not to say that he's going to run through and run for another 50 yards, but like he's not afraid to put his head down and get dirty. Like, that's not his style of game. So I was impressed. Like he is a hands catcher, which I love to see out of a receiver. I hate when they're catching with their bodies. He attacks the ball. As you mentioned, the speed, but I would have liked to see Auburn utilize him a little better, let him run a few more routes because a lot was just vertical routes, a lot of comebacks, hooks, not too much over the middle of the field of the couple games I watched, but maybe that would have changed a little bit. And I also would have liked to see them use him as a ball carrier too, because like his carries went down every year from his first to last, and he has that dynamic speed. So like there's sometimes it only takes one play where he can just take off for 70 yards and go for a touchdown. So I would have liked that a little more, but I can see the fit with the Jets. He'd be a slot receiver. He would most likely in the Jets 2021 team, he would likely be the 3rd option at slot just because Keelan Cole can't play that, but Keelan Cole can also play on the outside too. So he might not be relegated. No, he won't be relegated to just slot. So I think he would fit well with the Jets. I don't know exactly where the NFL is going to see him. I think he can sneak into day 2. I think he can be a 3rd round pick. But I think he's probably, if just a guess, like I would probably take him in the 3rd, 4th round. I think he'll end up going early day 3 if I had to guess.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to asking Anthony about how he sees the fit with the Jets offense. Obviously, he can't divulge too much information, but the crossing routes, it's such an advantage to have speed when you're running and stretching the field from a horizontal perspective. The jet sweeps, so many things that we saw from the Kyle Shanahan offense in San Francisco that we are kind of assuming are going to be here in New York. So it's an intriguing fit. Something I like that you mentioned was the vertical nature of how he attacked at Auburn. Something that someone like Kadarius Toney probably didn't do particularly well at Florida was stretch the field vertically, and he was more yards after the catch. I like that Schwartz has that ability to stretch the field vertically from the slot, because that's going to be a big part of the Shanahan offense as well. So it's really exciting. In a wide receiver class that's really, really good. And Clay, I just wanted to ask you, at number 34, let's just touch on that pick quickly while we have a moment. Anthony will be on in 1 or 2 minutes. At number 34, guys like Kadarius Toney, Rondale Moore, Elijah Moore, they're names we've heard a ton of. Do you have a preference out of those guys? How do you are they in the same tier for you, or is there a separation there between those three guys?
My smirk didn't give it away. I think you kind of have an idea of where I'm leaning.
You're a Florida guy.
Of course, man. You got go Gators. No, honestly, I love Kadarius Toney. He was a fan favorite with the Gators. He's just so fun to watch. No, he wasn't necessarily like the deep speed guy where he's going to beat you over the top, but it's not like he couldn't do it. He definitely has speed to where he can do it. Just not maybe his game. But like, he's built for a smaller guy. He's not like skinny. He's not skin and bones. Like he can bounce off some tacklers, and we saw it. I forget what game it was. I want to say it was maybe Vanderbilt. It's kind of slipping my mind, but where he has like 5 defenders around him, and they just bounce off of him. Like he has like that low center of gravity. He has the amazing, as I said, but he has amazing quickness. He moves literally like a joystick. Like if I'm like playing Xbox, I'll move around the stick. That's him. That's him on the football field. It's honestly, he defies physics. I love watching him. I think he'd be a great fit for the offense at 34. And it'd just be another player with the rap career on the way too. That we've been seeing in New York.
That's what we need. We need one with a successful Jets career as well. So that's Kadarius Toney. I think my gut feeling right now is that Elijah Moore is going to go first out of those 3 guys. It seems the NFL is really in love with his route running, the speed element, and also possibly his ability to play on the outside more than the other 2. That's kind of what I've heard the last couple of days. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes first out of that trio of kind of slot/gadget speed receivers. But Rondale Moore, man, I have no idea where he's going to go. For me, he's a top 35 player in this draft class. I like Rondale more than a lot of people, but with the size or lack thereof, some injuries with the soft tissues, man, I don't know if he's going to go in the second round, if he's going to drop down into the 50s and 60s. I'm really not sure what his stock's going to be like.
Yeah, and he's had some issues with catching the ball too. Like he's had some drop issues in his past. The size is obviously going to hurt him. The injuries are obviously going to hurt him. So we could see a slide into the 3rd round. I'm not going to rule that out whatsoever. Obviously, his highlights are high. Like there might not be many other receivers that have better highlights than Rondale Moore, but there are concerns where it's just he might not find a fit in the first 50, 60 picks. Yeah. And if he falls to 66 and the Jets haven't taken a receiver already, you got to take it. You got to take the risk. I know the Jets aren't in a position to take a ton of risks, but he's one that you got to take because if he is healthy, he's a dynamic playmaker. So dynamic. I don't. The 5'7" does worry me, but what he can do on the field is just unmatched with a lot of different players. And you mentioned Elijah Moore too. I agree with you. I think he will be the first one taken out of those 3, out of those smaller receivers after we get after we get past the top 3 receivers. And yeah, like I posted a couple videos of him on Twitter. Incredible route runner. I mean, I know a lot of people are going to know him for that dog celebration in the end zone, but no, I mean, he's just a good player too, and I think Lane Kiffin used him really well at Ole Miss, and he could. I think him and Toney have a pretty decent shot of sneaking into that background, like especially with like Green Bay.
Another receiver, different body type, but someone that's I think criminally underrated at the moment. I'm not sure if you share this opinion, Clay. Josh Palmer. out of Tennessee. He's a guy that played really well at the Senior Bowl, had some good reps. Tape was fairly impressive. Haven't heard a lot of buzz about him. Look, he's probably not a great fit for the Jets just because of the mold of Corey Davis and Mims and what we already have here. But what were your thoughts on Palmer as a receiver? And do you think he's a guy that could go possibly day 2?
I mean, honestly, I haven't watched a ton of Josh Palmer. I mean, I saw him against the Gators, obviously being in the SEC. I watched a lot of SEC football. So I kind of just watched him in passing. But like, he seemed like a solid receiver. He did kind of shine a little bit at the Senior Bowl. I know a lot of people were talking about him at the Senior Bowl too. So I don't really know exactly where he goes or what's his best fit because I didn't dive deep into him. But from what I have seen, he did seem pretty impressive. But I unfortunately, I couldn't tell you much about his fit with the Jets.
Well, don't worry about Palmer. Who we want to hear from today is Anthony Schwartz, the Auburn wide receiver, fastest man in the draft. Really appreciate him giving us some of his time and jumping on the show. Anthony, welcome in, man. It's so good to have you with us. I know it's an incredibly busy time for you. First of all, how are you feeling about tomorrow? Are the nerves kind of kicking in? And what are your plans for the weekend? And where are you going to be watching the draft and waiting for your name to be called?
Yeah, first, I appreciate you guys having me on the show. It's an honor to be on here. And really, my thoughts for tomorrow, I'm just kind of ready to get it on, ready this year. I'm going to play my next 4 years and hopefully 5, 6, really 10 years on. So playing for it and just ready to go. And then my plan is really just to have something small Thursday and Friday. And then Saturday I was doing something at a restaurant just because hopefully I would be drafted, so it would be a celebration. But if not, it could still pretty much count as a draft party because I know I would get drafted that day, if not the first 2 days.
Yeah, hopefully it's in the first 2 days. Let's just say that. Hopefully you're celebrating before the restaurant.
Right. I don't want to have those nerves going on because I feel like is when literally anything can happen.
Yeah.
Got a question for you about the draft process, Anthony. Such an incredibly busy time. You hear rookies all the time talking about how you don't really get that off season and it's just continually working. How did you find that balance between working on your craft as a wide receiver and training for the pro day and the testing and the impact that has on your draft stock? Was that a bit of a challenge balancing those two things for you?
I would say it wasn't that much of a challenge, basically, mainly because we really kind of how we trained are like Mondays and Thursdays. Those are like our main speed linear days. And so we're focusing on 40 starts, 40 speed, just everything to do with the 40. And then Tuesdays and Fridays is when we're more worried about 5, 10, 5, L. And those same days we're doing position drills too. So kind of the 5, 10, 5, and the L kind of play into position drills because it still works on change of direction. And then it kind of just leads up into the position drills where they didn't really try to kill us that much because they know we're doing a lot. So we're kind of more slow playing and going through each motion and going through each route, going through footwork.
Yeah. So actually, I want to ask you. So how was dealing with like the whole COVID year? Like, there's obviously the uncertainty that the 2020 season would even be played. Obviously, there's a lot of players advocating to get that season played. So what was it like with that, playing with like smaller to no crowds and just preparing for the draft in this COVID world that we live in now?
Really, it was pretty tough that first kind of off season, just mainly because everything was closed down here. Like parks were closed, fields were closed, like everywhere was closed. You had to like hop fences to get on and you just couldn't get caught. And so it was kind of just weird, but also kind of excited at the same time, kind of get that little rush, like get the adrenaline pumping, even just like doing a normal workout. But that was fun to have. And then just going back to school in the summer, and then when they gave us the okay, we're playing, that's when we kind of flipped another switch on just to have everything ready, have everything going. And then playing in the games, the good thing about it didn't really feel as much of a difference as like a scrimmage where there's literally no one in the stadium. Like it still felt pretty good. And it was just amazing to be able to play, especially with everything that was going on.
That's really cool, Anthony. And obviously everybody knows that you played, your college ball at Auburn. Some might not know you're a Florida guy growing up, and you played your high school at American Heritage, who's now a powerhouse. Can you tell us a little bit about the coach you had there and also some of your teammates that a lot of the listeners will be pretty well acquainted with?
Yes, sir. So my first years at Heritage, my coach was Mike Rumpf, who played for the 2001 Hurricanes, went to first round in the NFL draft. And then the last 2 years, my high school coach was Pat Surtain, who, of course, Miami Dolphins corner, Pro Bowl corner. And, of course, I went with his son went to the same school too, Pat Surtain Jr., and other guys that are in the draft as well, like Tyson Campbell, Marco Wilson, Khalil Herbert, Nick Eubanks, TJ Slayton. There's a lot of guys there and a lot of guys that we were able to kind of battle, iron sharpens iron. So it was just every day in practice, it was a battle. And it was just great to have those guys there because they're also cool guys off the field as well. And I'm still close with pretty much all of them now. And so it's great to have also great to have people going through the same process as me. And it kind of feels great to kind of set the foundation for that school. So now it's a perennial powerhouse. Like you're getting like 15, 20 kids each year going off to college, going off Division I. Doesn't matter, Division I, Division II. They're just going off to college and being able to kind of build on this foundation. It's amazing to see.
It's crazy that you mentioned 3 cornerbacks, Pat Surtain, Tyson Campbell, and Marco Wilson. Going against those 3 guys every day in practice must have been so much fun. And just like you said, iron sharpens iron. I couldn't imagine what those practices were like. It had to be a lot of fun to go through. But going to your game, I mean, obviously, like it's in your Twitter name, Flash. Like everyone knows you're fast. You can run a sub 4.340. But we want to know, like, what else can you bring to the table? Like, what else is there to Anthony Schwartz on the field? And what's one thing that you think you need to work on?
So I'm a guy, I feel like I bring a lot to the table. Like, of course, there's my speed. I'm able to take the top off the defense. I'm able to use it in many different ways. But I also feel like I'm very tall as well. I can be moved from inside, from the slot to outside to the boundary. Just kind of line up wherever to get the best matchup. And I feel like I'm a guy, too, that I can run routes. I can break people off. I can catch the ball well and run after catch. And a guy that I also feel like I'm very tough as well. And I would say the one thing that I would say I need to work on is just being more consistent in my routes, just staying more in control, which I've been working on a ton. And I feel like I have it down. I feel like I can still get better at it, but I feel like I have it down now. And that's really what I bring. I'm like a Swiss Army knife kind of.
Anthony, we're obviously Jets fans over here, and I know on U Stadium on Timeout with Nick and Frank and Bree last week, you talked about how they'd been in touch with you a couple of times. I don't want to press you for too much information there, but I'm intrigued. How do you think you fit into this offense? An offense that's really based around crossing motion, jet sweeps, things like that. Do you think that's a good fit for your game, whether it's from the inside on the slot or on the outside? Does that skill set go pretty well hand in hand with what you just mentioned then and the all-around game that you play?
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty much fits the Jets offense perfectly because a lot of motion, a lot of jet sweeps is something that I have a lot of experience in college, of course. And then just being able in the crossing route offense, kind of when you have those speed guys, you want them to get them across the field as fast as they can because no one's going to keep up with them. That's something that I would enjoy being a part of, especially when they have 2 big receivers outside. You want to have that speed guy in the slot that can move anywhere and get the best matchup inside to not only take some pressure off the other 2 guys, but also a guy that's a real weapon on the field every time he's on the field.
Yeah, for sure.
Great. No, that's great to hear. So I want to ask you one question. You can't name those 3 cornerbacks that I mentioned earlier. You can't name your high school teammates. Who was the toughest matchup in college? And who's the first cornerback you want to beat one-on-one for your touchdown, for your first career touchdown?
Shoot, I would say the toughest corner that I faced. It's probably a 3-way tie because, of course, there's J.C. Horn, which I didn't go against because he didn't really go against me when we played them. But just watching him play, he probably would have been the toughest one out of all of them. Mm-hmm. And then there was Eric Stokes as well, who was a very great corner, another fast guy, fast, handsy. He was able to kind of keep up with me. And then there was Kelvin Joseph too from Kentucky. He was pretty big, kind of a little physical, and he was a guy that was able to kind of like. He just kind of was good at the game. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he was trying to do.
And who's the one cornerback you want to beat for your first touchdown? One-on-one.
I know you said not to. But I'm gonna say I want to be one of my high school teammates. Nothing against them because I love them boys, but it'll just be fun. It'll be something fun to do.
Yeah, a lot of fun in games. You get bragging rights. That's awesome.
I love it. All right, so Anthony. New York, I've got a big question for you here. I know the other day you said you're not a big cheese guy. So if you're playing and living in New York and, it's the pizza capital of the world, does that mean pizza's off the table for you too if you're not a cheese guy?
I'll say one thing is I don't like cheese, but pizza. I love pizza. I love pizza.
Right.
I went to New York one time. I think it was somewhere near Times Square, but it was Pizza by the Slice, one of the best pizza I've ever had. So being in New York, they might put me on a diet because I might be eating pizza almost every day.
I love it. Okay, there's a lot of happy Jets fans.
Like I'm from New Jersey, so like I grew up with that pizza. I loved it, and now I'm living down in Orlando. So it's kind of tough to adjust to this pizza down here. It's not quite the same. So if you're getting drafted by the Jets, you're gonna have so much fun with that pizza. Like I would have it literally every single day. But all right, so we have one video that I want to show you. Just want to get your reaction because I'm a big Gator fan. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you saw the tweet that I tagged you in, but I'm a big Gator fan. Obviously, you guys played them in 2019. There's one play that I want to get your opinion on and your reaction if Splash has it ready for us.
You know, that was a big game. It was a big, especially in that fourth quarter. They scored on their first play off.
Yep.
And so by then, it was kind of more back and forth, kind of 3-and-out. That he takes that touchdown. We're talking about probably the game probably would have ended up differently than it ended up at the end of the day. But it was just obscene of man, 6'5", 300, I think, over 300 pounds. And it's not like he wasn't moving. Like, he's moving out there. And he's probably never ran that fast ever, so that might be why he stumbled. But that's one play in that game that I wish we had back.
Yeah, I remember watching it. I was with a few buddies of mine, and I'm just seeing him run closer and closer to the end. So I'm like, oh, no, like, what's happening? And then he just gets sniped out of nowhere and just falls. But and I think the Gators ended up stopping you guys on that ensuing possession.
I think we had a field goal, but I don't think we made it. I think we missed it.
Yeah, it was a really good game. And actually, like on that, what was it like after the game? Like, or maybe not like immediately after, because obviously you guys lost, so I'm sure you guys weren't going like making fun of them or anything. But what about like your next team meeting? Was there a video? Did Gus Malzahn put that on the big screen for all you guys to see and just kind of have a nice laugh at?
Yeah, we put on the big screen, just kind of like also someone made an edit like of I don't know if it was an American Sniper edit, but it was a sniper edit. And so he had him, then it cuts to the sniper, and you hear the shot, and next thing you just see. So we had some fun with that. Like, of course, we were still mad at the game, but like a couple of days later, kind of make that switch to the next week, and by that point, we were all just laughing back at it.
That's great. No, I knew we were having you on as a Gator fan. I had to just bring that up and see your reaction on your side of the sideline.
Anthony, look, we really appreciate you coming on, man. As I said at the top, it's a full-on couple of days for you. Clay, myself, and all of Jets Nation, we're rooting for you. Thanks so much for coming on and supporting our show, U Stadium, Nick, and all the guys. Good luck over the next couple of days. I'm sure you're going to be called on day 2, and hopefully it's by the Jets. But thanks very much, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on, and hopefully I can be a Jet.
Yeah,
Thank you. We'll see you after the draft.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Thanks, man. That was an incredible insight. A lot of fun having Anthony Schwartz, Auburn wide receiver, on the show. Great guy, Clay, and that was a real fun interview.
Yeah, I love that he gave his just a candid reaction to the Derek Brown video. I mean, that's one of my favorite plays as a Gator fan. So I thought it was just nice to kind of just have some fun, just lighten up. Like, obviously it's draft day tomorrow, and he's probably not going to hear his name called tomorrow, but just lighten up, and then he'll have some fun Friday, Saturday, whenever he is drafted.
Thank you again to Anthony for coming on the show. Let's pivot now to our mock draft. So if you missed the start of the show, I kind of referenced it. Scott, myself, and Clay, we went out and spoke to some media members, some experts in the industry, and some super fans, got their take on who their team would be drafting, and we've put together a first-round mock draft. So how we're going to attack this, we're going to go through it 5 picks at a time, little chunks, and kind of discuss a pick that stands out to us. At the top, no surprise there, Jacksonville took Trevor Lawrence. That pick was from Jordan DeLugo, writer at Generational Jag. He said he's a generational product, a prospect, enough said. The Jets selected by Scott Mason. They took Zach Wilson, quarterback from BYU. Again, that was pretty expected. Then San Francisco, a move that right now, according to betting markets, would be a huge surprise. Javier, who's on the U Stadium show and a huge 49ers fan, he took Justin Fields, the quarterback out of OSU. At number 4, the Atlanta Falcons stayed pat in this with no trades, and they took Kyle Pitts, pretty expected. That was from Dave Archer, former Falcons starting quarterback and now doing color for their radio over there. And at number 5, the Bengals took Jamar Chase, which is the talk of Cincinnati right now between those guys. So James Rapien took Jamar Chase. Out of those 5 picks, Clay, which one stood out to you and kind of what grabbed your attention?
The Kyle Pitts one, and not just because he's a Gator. That has actually nothing to do because he's a Gator, but it's because that they're not taking a quarterback. And there's Kyle Pitts adding him to an offense with Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Hayden Hurst, so they can play 2 tight end sets any given play. And Hayden is a good blocker, so Pitts wouldn't really have to do it as much, which is obviously more of a benefit for him. I think he fit that offense tremendously. And I think we've seen in this league, you don't have to have a great defense to win all your games. You can win by scoring 50 points a game, which they can do with Matt Ryan under center. They have a pretty decent offensive line, nothing special, but pretty decent. And then I'm sure at some point in this draft they'd get a running back, because I think the top one is Mike Davis, if I'm not mistaken. So if they can get a running back to add to this team, man, they would put up at least 30 points a game.
Yeah, that would be an incredible offensive collection there for Matt Ryan and co in Atlanta. Moving on, we had Brian Noe taking the Miami Dolphins selection, and he took Jalen Waddle, which was a bit of a surprise, possibly at number 6. Detroit, we have Dave Burkett, who for the Detroit Lions took Penei Sewell, which is a great get for them. For the Carolina Panthers, they take Trey Lance despite trading for Sam Darnold. Tony Dunn had them selecting the NDSU quarterback Trey Lance. At number 9, the Denver Broncos took Rashawn Slater. I really like this pick, solidifying the O-line if they can't go and get one of those top 4 quarterbacks. Cameron Parker made that selection. And then number 10, the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. Jess Haney had them taking Patrick Surtain II. Out of those 5, there's a couple of really interesting ones. Where did your focus go there?
My focus in this went to Trey Lance. And obviously they just made a big trade for their quarterback. They just traded for Sam Darnold. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, they haven't exercised that 5th-year option on him quite yet, unless something's changed in the last 33 minutes. So it's not shocking. I could see it happening because they did give up a 2nd-round pick, but if they really like Trey Lance or any quarterback for that matter, take him. I mean, Sam Darnold shouldn't stop you, just like Teddy Bridgewater shouldn't stop the Broncos now. And if you like a quarterback, you take him. You got him cheap. You got him on 5 years. You can honestly maybe trade Darnold again. Maybe you might have to give up. It might get a little less than what you gave up for him, but you never know. I mean, so that one stuck out to me for sure, because you'd like to think that Carolina would try to build around Darnold, give him a little bit of help, because you just did invest a 2nd and a 4th-round pick on him and a 6th. But like I said, if you like a quarterback, don't let Sam Darnold stop you.
All right, let's jump into picks number 11 through 15. The New York Giants selected Devontae Smith. I love that pick. John Smelk made that pick. At 12, their rivals, the Philadelphia Eagles, took J.C. Horn, another one I'm a big fan of. Dan Booney Roche made that selection. At 13, the LA Chargers took Christian Darrisaw out of Virginia Tech, thanks to Ryan Drude, who made that one. At number 14, the Vikings took Mac Jones. So despite giving Kirk Cousins an extension, they make that decision to go and get their quarterback of the future in a pretty similar mold. And then at number 15, the New England Patriots took Micah Parsons, who's just screams a Patriots guy. Miguel Rafael Benzan made that selection for us. The pick for me that stood out in that grouping there was definitely Devontae Smith to the Giants. Even though they invested the money in Kenny Golladay, I love the fact that this is the year they need to put all their chips in the middle and find out whether Daniel Jones is the guy to lead this franchise to the promised land. Give him as many weapons as you can. There's 3 receivers, there's 3 starting receivers on 98% of NFL franchises. Most are playing a high percentage of 11 personnel. So I was an enormous a fan of that pick there. So let's jump into quickly these kind of middle round picks. At 16, the Arizona Cardinals took Caleb Farley. So they're the ones that rolled the dice on his back injury. Cameron Cox made that selection for us. At number 17, the Las Vegas Raiders took Trayvon Moehrig. The first safeties off the board, probably the only starting caliber safety there. And your boy Q254 made that selection. At number 18, the Dolphins were on the clock again, and they took Kwity Paye out of Michigan. At number 19, the Washington football team took Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, linebacker out of Notre Dame, who plays really well in space, and Pete Haley from NBC made that big pick for us. And number 20, the Bears took Tevin Jenkins out of Oklahoma State. We were talking about it before, and you said that JOK to Washington was a pick that kind of stood out to you there, Clay.
Yeah. I mean, Washington, they have a great defense already, and with Chase Young, they're Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, so they're building something up in that front. But they do need that speed, and they need some linebacker help. But Owusu-Koramoah, sorry, he's not just a linebacker. He kind of fits that Jamal Adams role. And honestly, he might be better in coverage than Jamal Adams has shown to be so far. So I think that's a great pick. It kind of solidifies that defense. I mean, we know Ron Rivera wants to build through the defense. And when you have Ryan Fitzpatrick, you got to make sure that these defenses can stop the opposing offense, because Fitzpatrick, as great of plays that he can make, he can also make some really bad ones, as we know as Jets fans, and he'll give the ball to the other offense. So just building this defense as best as you can, I think, gives them the best chance to get back to the playoffs next year. And I really do like Owusu-Koramoah for the defense.
Yeah, I do as well. I think that would be a fantastic selection. If no quarterback's there and they can't trade up to get one, he makes a whole lot of sense for the football team. At number 21, the Indy Colts took Azeez Ojulari. Like that pick, I think that's a pretty good value for him. George Bremer, a friend of the Play Like a Jet pod, made that selection. At number 22, the pick before the Jets, the Tennessee Titans took Elijah Moore, the wide receiver who we referenced at the top of the show. Dave Beauclair made that selection. And then at number 23, Scott Mason for your New York Jets took Elijah Vera-Tucker, a move that I'm pretty sure Clay is okay with if you listened to our show before. At number 24, the Steelers take Najee Harris, another guy that Clay's very high on. Bryant McFadden was fortunate enough to make that pick for us from CBS. And at number 25, the Jags took Christian Barmore out of Alabama, and that was Jordan taking that pick again. Najee Harris at 24 is picking up a whole lot of buzz right now, Clay. I know I listened to the Play Like a Jet podcast with Nick Spano from U Stadium just last night, and he said there's real momentum building, that Pittsburgh, with their nice receiving core with Claypool and everything else they have on that offense, even though the O-line is aging, they're looking to draft Najee Harris. So I guess it makes sense. Whether I would make that move and not go O-line, I'm not sure, but that's a pick that definitely stood out to me. Let's roll through these last 6 or 7 picks here. The Cleveland Browns, they take Greg Newsome, a guy who I'm very, very high on from Northwestern. That was Steve Thomas who made that pick. The Baltimore Ravens, picking for them was Kevin Ostreicher, and he took Rashad Bateman. That's something I've seen mocked a ton, and it makes a lot of sense, that big body over the middle. The New Orleans Saints, selected by Alex Salars, was Nick Bolton, the linebacker out of Mizzou. At 29, the Green Bay Packers took Kadarius Toney, your guy, that slot speed receiver that would complement Aaron Rodgers and the rest of that offense so well. Ryan from Lambeau Leapers, who you may have just watched on U Stadium, made that selection for us. At 30, the Bills, to me, a little reach, but they took Peyton Turner, defensive end out of Houston, who flashed in a game against Zach Wilson and BYU. Drew Geyer made that pick. At number 31, the Ravens were on the clock again, and they took Liam Eichenberg. And then at 32, the defending NFL champions, Super Bowl winners, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, take Joe Tryon, the edge out of Washington, who's gaining steam and was picked highly at number 23 by the Jets in Chris Sims' latest mock draft, which was interesting. Let's touch quickly on one of the picks there, Clay. Which one kind of was your favorite, or possibly one that more just stood out to you for being a bit of a reach?
Yeah, I mean, the Peyton Turner one definitely stands out. Going ahead of names like Joe Tryon, Jalen Phillips, it was honestly very shocking, jaw-dropping, some may say. But and he is a good player. I think he can sneak into the second round, maybe last as long as like the early, mid-third round. The 30 just seems a little too high. Don't get me wrong, I'll be happy if it's Buffalo, just because they're in the division. So that one stood out, and also the Baltimore one. Baltimore getting Rashad Bateman. They need that bigger receiver, and I think he fits pretty well there because they have Hollywood Brown, they have the speed, they have the slot receivers with Duvernay and Prochet. So like they just need that big guy. I don't know if Miles Boykin is quite it. I think he's more of just depth at this point in his career. I don't think he's a starter. Don't get me wrong, he's not bad. He's just not a starter in the league, in my opinion. So getting a guy like Rashad Bateman who could be that bigger presence for Lamar Jackson, I think would be huge for them.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I know producer Splash is a big Baltimore Ravens fan. He agrees with you there. So he's on board with the pick at in the late, I think it's 27 there that the Ravens have their first pick. Let's pivot now, Clay, into focus on the Jets. We are, 24 hours nearly exactly from the NFL draft in round 1. What we're going to do is do a mock draft, 7 rounds, jump on PFN and kind of grind this out together, see what we end up with, acting as Joe Douglas. So let's go through that now. I'm going to go through a 7-round mock. I think number 2 is going to work out how everyone kind of expects. And I think Mac Jones, you reckon? I thought you were going to say Kyle Pitts. You surprised me there.
No, I'll go Zach Wilson. Let's just get that over with.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy pick. We're not going to go too much into depth there because obviously we've spent a ton of time talking about Zach Wilson on this platform and on our show. We're really excited about that, and barring any huge surprises, he's going to be the selection at number 2 tomorrow. 23 though, as the board's shaking out here, I think you're going to be looking at possibly Elijah Vera Tucker, Kwity Paye, one of those kind of guys. It's worked out really well for you, and it's worked out nearly identically to the mock draft we just went then. We have a trade offer. I don't think we're going to trade in the division.
No, we're going to take Dolphins. This one's interesting. Drop down 9 to get a 2nd-round pick, but with a couple guys on the board, I don't know if we need to.
Yeah, I think there's only 3 guys I like here, so I'm not a huge fan of that. And I'm not trading with New England, that's for sure. So we're going to pass on the trades. Let's make our selections stand pat at number 23. Three names that stand out to me here, Clay, are Elijah Vera Tucker, Tevin Jenkins, and Caleb Farley, who obviously we're probably not going to pick because of the injuries. I'm assuming that you're going to like Vera Tucker here over Tevin Jenkins, also not from a positional value perspective, but more just as a better player.
No, that's right. I like Vera Tucker better as a player, but I also still love Tevin Jenkins in his game. I just think Vera Tucker, just the idea of lining him up next to Mekhi Becton for the next, hopefully, decade plus, it brings a smile to my face, as you can see. So I think I'm going to go with Vera Tucker if you're okay with that.
Let's do it. Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC is the selection at 23. Would be an ideal outcome for Joe Douglas. And now I think we're kind of down to 3 positions. I think you're looking at wide receiver, edge, and corner. We'll see how the board shakes out, but they're the positions that kind of jump off the page at me.
But I think we should hide this trade for now.
Yeah.
If you're all right with that. Because I want to see who's on board. Because we'll pick next.
Yeah, I think there you can see Jalen Phillips is on the board.
For this team. Oh.
All right,
so okay.
Cool, you're back with us. All right, so I think Kadarius Toney and Jalen Phillips are the names that jump out to me. If we were to move back to 49, I don't love your chances of getting one of those players. I'm not sure Terrence Marshall makes it to 49. Not that he's a great fit with the Jets receiving core already. What's your gut telling you here to pick up that extra 2nd in 2022? Do you miss out on a Toney or a Phillips and downgrade to someone like a Melifonwu? Where's your head at with that trade?
Yeah, the first name that comes to my mind if we make the trade is Landon Dickerson, because I know he's a little further down in this. But I don't want to play like that because I know he's going to be there at 49.
Yeah.
I want to act like this is like the real thing and we don't know who's going to be where. So I think we already have enough picks for next year. I don't think we need to go the Cleveland Browns route and try to move back and just get too cute with it. Maybe we just go with the best available player. So you said Kadarius Toney and Jalen Phillips. Mm-hmm. Which one do you want to go towards?
It's a great question. I know a lot of people are going to be screaming at me, you have to get Zach Wilson weapons. This entire draft is about Zach Wilson. Jalen Phillips is a top 15, 20 player for me. You have to obviously weigh in the injuries and the concussion and retiring. It's a big risk to take. I just wonder, can we get that speed receiver like a Darden or the slot out of Clemson? Can we get one of those guys in the third round picking at 66 or 86? So is that positional scarcity going to be better at edge? And what's that gap like between Jalen Phillips and the rest of the class? So my gut's telling me Jalen Phillips. I know that's probably not what you wanted to hear, but that's kind of where I'm leaning with pick 34.
Actually, I want to bring up one more name. Could you scroll down just a little bit, Splash? There are, a little further. There he is, Asante Samuel Jr.
Ooh.
What about him? Because we do need cornerback. We haven't touched cornerback in free agency. Not a huge fan of the cornerback class the further down you get.
Yeah.
So do you think we could, because I think we can get maybe an Amari Rogers or Schwartz. We can get one of those guys later on. Whereas I don't know if we get as good of value at cornerback in the third, fourth, fifth round.
Yeah, it's an interesting pick because I really like Asante Samuel Jr. Despite the limited size, he has a similar profile to Jason Verrett, who had really good success with San Francisco. Mike Renner from PFF was a little concerned about his ability to play in this scheme, but they play a fair bit of bail, and it's not too physical at the line of scrimmage all the time. So I think he's a really good pick. I think you just mentioned that gap between him and the rest of the corner class. I think that's a good enough argument. Maybe it's a safer pick than going with Jalen Phillips with the head injuries as well. So let's do that. Let's lock in Asante Samuel Jr.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I like that.
Yeah, because as we mentioned, they haven't touched cornerback this entire time. Brian Poole's still out there. And with Samuel, this doesn't take away a potential Steven Nelson, a potential Richard Sherman, even a potential return of Brian Poole. It doesn't take those guys away. It's just adds a little more depth because the depth in this cornerback class is brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. And we got to address it relatively early. I think 66 is the latest they can address the cornerback position. I know you want to do best player available, but cornerback is a necessity at this point.
Yeah, I like what you said about Steven Nelson and not taking that off the table. Samuel could even bump inside and play in the slot U1, so that gives you some versatility there. Offer from the Giants here. These are the trades I think we look at making just because you're not moving particularly far back. But is there a name on the board that you can see that's saying, pick me? Because I'm seeing a guy that's number 59 there that might be hard to pass up.
It's tough. I think, oh, man. Splash, could we hide this trade?
Don't think so. I think it has to stay there.
Not does it? Because I'm trying to think if we what if you clicked to the side? Is that a thing?
No.
All right, thanks. So there we go. Can we go to offense and go to interior lineman? So just go to guard first. So I'm thinking because obviously Barry Tucker's playing. He's most likely going to be playing left guard if we take him. So that leaves McGovern as center and potential right guard as a need. I'm looking at Kendrick Green, maybe even. I know Aaron Banks isn't the greatest fit, but I do like him. I do like Aaron Banks, and maybe they're okay with getting a bigger, not as athletic guy for the right guard position.
Yep.
So I do like those two names that I'd be okay with maybe trading down and getting one of them with 86 or 107, and then maybe being able to trade back and get one, I think it was 116 from the Giants.
Yeah.
Kind of fill out the depth a little bit. What are you thinking there?
Yeah, well, let's make that trade. I think there's enough interior offensive line talent there with Dickerson. You mentioned Kendrick Green, who we both love. I think it's a good move to trade back 10 picks here. So let's accept the trade. If it's still on the table, we'll see if the Giants are still calling. Let's make that move, just sliding down 10 picks. I think it makes sense. Joe Douglas is probably going to trade up and down at some stage in this draft. Yeah. So we'll see. There goes Dickerson off the board, which isn't a surprise. Probably makes it more realistic anyway. And that now leaves us. Splash has thrown in an offer there from the Baltimore Ravens, but we're going to hang up on them. I think it's a little far back to slide for us.
Yeah, I think we're good.
We've still got Kendrick Green on the board at 102. Sorry, at 76, sorry. Yeah. If we look at the rest of the board now and who else is available for us at all positions, Michael Carter, the running back at UNC, his teammate Diami Brown, who can play in the slot, played more outside there in that offense. Tyson Campbell, a guy that I'm not in love with personally. So for me, I look at this and think, is it Michael Carter, Diami Brown, or Kendrick Green? Is that kind of the three names you've narrowed it down to as well? Yeah,
I think here I would go with Michael Carter. Obviously, the Jets, they really do like him. I think he fits the scheme. He's a reliable player out of the backfield as a receiver.
Yep.
They can always use, and I know they're gonna use that in this offense too. So yeah, I think we got to go with Carter. The run game needs some help. Tevin Coleman's the starter right now. He's coming off a year with a sub-2 yards per carry. Granted, a lot of touches, but still sub-2, which is not good. And then behind him, we got Ty Johnson, Michael P. Ryan, Josh Adams. No names to write home about. So I think we go with Michael Carter here if you're okay with that.
Yeah, let's lock that in. I like the Michael Carter selection. The Jets have been all over the running back market. So let's lock in Michael Carter at number 76 after a trade down with the New York Giants. And now that leaves us with 86 and kind of hoping who's on the board. I'm pretty sure
that trade.
You like it?
I like to think of it. We're only going down 4 spots. And then from 154, we're moving up almost 30, 29 spots to move back 4.
Is Kendrick Green going to slide another 4 picks for us?
I think so.
All right, let's do it. Let's roll the dice. Let's see how we go.
Do it. Kellen Mond they wanted. Okay.
Interesting.
All right. And then we hang on. We're hanging on.
Don't worry about it. We've got enough picks for next year.
Yeah.
I think this is a really great pick. Talking about on day 2, I don't think Kendrick Green's going to be here at 90, but right here we can only do what the board's offering us, and you have to take him here.
Yeah, absolutely. Kendrick Green, he can play center, he can play guard. He'd most likely play guard in this system with McGovern staying at center, just so they're not moving around a bunch of pieces. So you're building this offensive line. That's what they need to do. If they can get 2 guys up front for Zach Wilson, because we need him. We need him to stay on the field. We don't need mono. We don't need shoulder injury. We don't need a foot injury. We need him on the field, and the best way to do that is to protect him. I love that for Kendrick Green.
So far, we've given him a couple of offensive linemen and a couple of great ones to play on the interior, a running back to help, lessen the load off Zach Wilson as a rookie. Haven't given him any receiving talent yet. We haven't touched the edge position, I don't think, unless someone's escaping me. So maybe there are a couple of positions we look at targeting here. I like Quincy Roche in this kind of spot. I think I saw Tutu Atwell was on the board, not a guy that you love. I know that you're not his biggest fan. Darden's on the board here. Anthony Schwartz, friend of the show, he's available with this pick at 107. Is that kind of the 2 position groups you're thinking here, wide receiver and edge? Does that make the most sense based on the talent left on the board?
Yeah, I'm looking there. Can we go to 2 other positions? Tight end while you're on offense. There's not really any names I'm loving that you. Even though Kenny Yeboah literally matches 107. Can we go to defense, go to linebacker? Because linebacker is an underrated need for this team.
It is. Yep, especially at the Will spot.
On a 1-year deal. It's actually pretty much all 3 of the guys are on 1-year deals at this point. So it's an underrated need. Tony Fields is the best one on the board right now. I don't know if this is the right spot for him. Maybe if he used that 116, that'd be another option. But yeah, I think we stick to edge and receiver. So if we can go back to edge, like Quincy Roche, there's another couple names I like later on.
Yep,
that I'd be okay with. Cam Sample, he fits more of that bigger defensive end that Saleh likes to have in his defense. He can kind of fill the Terry Hyder role, the Vinny Curry role once Vinny Curry's gone. And Shaka Toney, I think he fits the wide 9 system great. He's got the speed, he's got the bend. He's not going to be great against the run, but I think he fits the defense as well. So where are you thinking? You're thinking Quincy Roche and where at receiver?
I think receiver, you look at maybe Darden here. I think you might look at Anthony Schwartz here in the 4th round. I think they're both pretty good value. Someone that can play inside and give you that speed element. They're probably the 2 receivers I look at with this pick.
All right, so who do you want to go with?
Well, I think we've got to take our guy, don't we? I think Anthony Schwartz comes off the board here at 107.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Get some speed. This offense needs some speed.
Yeah.
I think this kind of solidifies the offense for what we need to draft for. I think now we can kind of look at the defensive side of the ball because we've only taken 1 cornerback. So we can look at linebacker. We can look at defensive end. We can look at safety. There's actually there's one guy that I know is going to be here. Can we go to safety? I want to get your opinion.
Okay, let's do it.
Is he there? 156, Divine Diablo. I like him. I think because remember, the Jets were interested in signing Keanu Neal. He's a safety, long-term safety, but they were going to move him to the will position. And I think that's exactly what Diablo would be for this defense. He moved to that will position, compete with Blake Cashman if Cashman stays on the field, compete with him for snaps. I think he's a good fit. I think this is where I would lean, unless there's an edge rusher that you're more comfortable with, or a linebacker?
Yeah, completely fine with that. The only other name that jumped off to me was possibly Tay Gowan at corner. I'm not sure if he's off the board here, the UCF cornerback. He may already have slipped off the board. I know they're pretty high on him at PFN. So I think we do that. I think we make the pick. Safety / that will linebacker spot is there. He's on the board still, but they've got him going a lot later. I think he's going to go higher than in the 300s. But I'm happy to go with that will linebacker kind of hybrid role, something that Salah and his defense covets, the linebacker position. Him and our DC both being former linebacker coaches. So let's lock that in with Diablo at pick 116.
Even if they do like him better at safety, I mean, the safety position does need depth. And think about their top 3 guys; they're all free safeties at their best. And where Diablo, he would be that strong safety. He's not going to play over top. So I mean, if you can get him in there, he'll be depth for the strong safety position. He'll be depth for the linebacker position. I think it just fills a need in 2 spots, which is huge. Versatility is huge in this game.
Perfect. So I think, as you said, we've kind of hit on all the positions we needed to, drafted, not intentionally, but for a little bit of need there and filled some holes. So now I think we're looking at really BPA and where we want to go. James Hudson's on the board if we want to go that kind of swing tackle, someone who played pretty well at Cincinnati this year. I know you talked about a couple of the edge guys that you're really high on. I think Shaka Tony's still on the board here. I like Tay Gowan, despite the simulator not being a huge fan of him. He's that bigger outside corner.
Might be able to get him a little later.
Yeah, that's fair. I think with this mock anyway. Do we want to look at getting a defensive end here? Is that where you want to look at maybe, this kind of 145 range?
One name that I did see was Trey Sermon, and we can double up a running back and kind of hope that both of them, or at least one of them pans out, maybe both of them. Because remember, Green Bay did it with Jamal Williams and Jones. And
bit of thunder and lightning, you reckon?
What was that?
Thunder and lightning. You get the bigger body Sermon and then the pass touching and speed of Michael Carter.
That's kind of where I'd be headed with that. If we did go this route, obviously we just took Pirine, but Pirine wasn't a part of this LaFleur system, so I don't know how they're going to feel about him. Ty Johnson and Josh Adams, they can get cut at any given moment. So I mean, Trey Sermon is a guy I would keep an eye on. But yeah, let's go to the edge rushers and see if we're feeling one of them more. So
I think next we pick in the 140s again. So there's a chance that Sample and Tony make it to that 140. I think it's 148 or something like that. So maybe we double up here and we go running back and throw all the chips on offense with these late picks and give Zach Wilson as much help as we can.
Are you okay with going Trey Sermon, or you want to look at receiver, or you good with that?
I feel pretty. No, let's do it. Let's roll the dice. Let's do it. I don't know if we'll take 2 on draft day, but I'm okay with it. We're in charge here, not Joe. So let's take Trey Sermon. And now we turn our attention to the next pick and kind of hoping that one of the edges that we covered are going to fall to that pick.
Yeah, so we're at 6, you said?
Yeah, so I think they're both still there at the moment. 146 coming up pretty quickly.
Coming up. Hey, Johnson,
we're in the clear here. There we go. I think is Tony where you go here, or do you want Sample? I know you're pretty high on both of those guys.
Oh, man. I think I'd be leaning Tony just because I think John Franklin Myers will kind of and Vinny Curry will kind of fill that role of like the bigger defensive end. Yeah, we all think of John Franklin Myers as a D tackle, but in this system, he's going to play on the outside too. He's athletic enough to do it. So I think we just get that speed with Tony, because I know we have Bryce Huff, who's kind of in that similar role. He's not as fast, but I do like Huff. I actually had a 4th round grade on him last year. Jabari Zuniga, he's another guy. Like he's extremely athletic. I think he'll be better in this defense than he was in Greg Williams. So I'm not. That's tough between those. I'll let you take it.
Let's take Tony. I like Tony a little bit more, even though he's lower on the board here. I think he's the better player. I like him from that wide 9 spot, like you touched on. I'm not sure Bryce Huff is enough of a reason for me to pass on the talented end there from Penn State. So we've hit on corner, we've hit on edge, couple of running backs. We took our speed wide receiver in Anthony Schwartz, who was on the show earlier. If you missed that, definitely go back and check that out. We took Zach Wilson in the first round with Elijah Vera Tucker. And at 34, we took Asante Samuel Jr. So really done a good job on hitting some of the Jets' needs. In these last couple of picks in the 6th round, I think we have 2 picks left at 186 and then 222 or something in that range. I think now you're really looking for role players. I think beforehand we were looking for starters and plugging holes and who can be an impact starter. Now I think you're looking at niche skill sets. Is that kind of what you're thinking as well, Clay? And looking for a guy who can play in a package and things like that?
Yeah, I think in the 6th and 7th rounds, you're looking for potential. You're looking for traits. You're not really looking for the guy that can be taught things. You're not looking for the guy that already has the things that can be taught. You want to look for a guy that has the traits that just needs a little more coaching and just take his game to the next level. So I want to look. Can we go to receiver? Let's see who's there. So one name already shines for me. Who fits that athletic profile? Could just use a little more coaching, and that's Josh Matterbaby. How do you feel about that? He obviously fits that outside receiver, which Jets don't have a ton of depth at.
No, you're right. They have the starters, but outside of those guys, they don't have a lot of bigger body guys. They have, Jeff Smith and those kind of in-tweener receivers, I'd say, who can play inside and outside. I think he's a potential good move. If we're going to go receiver, I like him probably the best of the guys left on the board. I'm trying to think where else we could go. I know corner, we were only touched on once. Trey Brown's on the board from Oklahoma. I'm not sure if you're a huge fan of him.
If you're Tay Gowan.
We could throw Tay in there now. I really like his tape. Like, honestly, he only just slid out of my top 50. I think he's a 60 to 80 kind of player. I was really high on him. I know he didn't play last year, so people kind of forget about him and, UCF and the competition and the nonsense we hear there. But he's a guy I really like. And I think he's kind of in that Bryce Hall mode. And whether you want to play Asante Samuel Jr. on the inside or outside, I think Cowan gives you depth there because I'm not sure Bless Austin is it. And really the Jets don't have a lot more outside of Splashes guy Lamar Jackson at corner. So I reckon Tay Gowan, let's take him. I think he gives you depth at a really key position. And then look, maybe we can attack receiver again with this last pick in the 6th round. But feeling pretty good about how the draft's gone so far.
Yeah. I think we hit a lot of key spots. We doubled up at a couple positions. And then heading into this last pick, there's one guy or two guys that I'm looking at that don't really play the positions that you think that we should look at, and that's fullback and kicker. There's a couple guys in my head. Obviously, the fullback, everyone knows, and everyone should know the kicker I'm thinking of.
Does he play down in your home state?
He does. Well, actually, the top two, I think, play in my home state.
Yeah, true.
My true. So, obviously, the fullback I'm talking about is Ben Mason from Michigan. There was a report, I forget who put it out, but there was a report that the Jets did really like him. And if they're going to run this,
Tony Pauline, it was.
Was it? Yeah, I mean, I know he gets knocked a couple times, but he did hit on the Joe Douglas kind of not scandal, but like he hit on Joe Douglas and that the Jets were interested in him, even though we still had McCagnon. So I'm not going to completely rule out Pauline.
Yep.
But if they are going to play this Shanahan offense, they do need a fullback. They don't have one on the roster unless they want Trevor Wesco to be that fullback. But I don't really know if he fits that kind of style that they're looking for from that position, where Ben Mason does a little bit. He's he's a pretty good blocker. He's pretty athletic, and I like him unless you want to wait for Mason Wake next year.
I think we take Ben Mason. The Jets kicking spot isn't in the best spot, but I think you can get a starter here, and that's so valuable in this offense. So that rounds out our draft now. We'll wait for the 7th round to tick by, but I think that's a good way to close it out. We talked about looking at guys with potential and role players. We may have got a starter there that plays 35 to 40% of the snaps on offense in year one, a skill set that's unique to this Jets offense that they don't really have outside of Wesco, as you said. So really like that pick with Mason to close it out and feel really good about the draft in general. As we wrap it up here, we'll go through and recap our entire draft class. I think we had 11 picks in the end, picking that extra one up from the Giants. We had Zach Wilson and Vera Tucker at 2, the same as our mock draft that Scott Mason picked for us just about one segment earlier. At number 34, Asante Samuel Jr. At 76, we traded back with the New York Giants and took Michael Carter. We then took someone we loved with Kendrick Green at pick number 90. We took Anthony Schwartz, who was on the show earlier, at 107. We took Divine Diablo at 116, a guy that we think can play some kind of hybrid role between strong safety and will linebacker. We then had Trey Sermon. We doubled down on running back at 125. Took Shaka Tony, a guy we've talked about a fair bit on the show, at 146. Tay Gowan, a guy that's going to go much higher than that, corner on the outside at 186. And we finished it off with Ben Mason, the fullback out of Michigan. Clay, I love it. I'm a big fan of a lot of those picks. Give me 2 or 3 that are your favorites that you just think they're home runs outside of the first couple that we know we both love, but outside of the top 34 picks, what are the top 2 or 3 that you're happiest with?
Yeah, I mean, I love the Kendrick Green pick. I know we're both really high on him. He fits the offense that they want to run. He can, like I said, he can play center. He can play guard. He's just a good player. I don't know if he actually makes it this far on Friday night. But if he does, is this our 4th round pick? Where did we take him?
We took him trading back, so it was with the 3rd. Yeah.
Yeah. So if he falls here Friday night, I'm gonna be screaming at my TV. I'm gonna do everything to speak it into existence. Obviously, we're not picking at 90, but if he falls to 86, I'm going to scream it into existence. I do like the player, so that's one of my favorites, if not my favorite, outside of the top 3 picks. And I also like the Divine Diablo pick too. I like that. I think he fits a key role in this defense that we know that Saleh wants to have these linebackers to run this defense. Maybe he can become our Fred Warner. Maybe that's a little too much to ask for. No, I do like that pick. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like it, but I like doubling up a running back too. And just like the running game is important in this system. It's very important. And if you can get a nice little duo with Carter and Sermon, like that's going to take a huge load off for Wilson, especially in his rookie year. So we really touched up on this offense. We got him 2 running backs. We got him 2 guards. We got him a receiver, and we got him a fullback.
Yeah.
I think the one thing we messed up on was maybe not getting a tackle, but George Fant did play pretty well. He fits this offense as well. He's more than athletic enough to, we're assuming a wide zone offense. So I think I think we're okay there. And George Fant, we do have 1 more year on him. So if he has a good year, he's most likely going to be back for year 3 unless they really feel like they need to get rid of that money, which doesn't seem like they're in a spot to have to do that if he has a good year. So I don't think it was a necessity as long as we did get 2 offensive linemen, which we did, and 2 of them that we both really love.
One last question. With Vera Tucker, we talked about the tackle depth. Do you think there's any chance maybe year 2, year 3, they kick him out and give him a shot? It would be on the other side of the line at right tackle, maybe not a position that he's familiar with. It's not just easy to flip from left to right side of the line, obviously. Do you think there's a chance he does play on the outside of the NFL still, or his potential at guard in that kind of Zach Martin role that you've talked about just makes him way too difficult to pass on as a guard?
I do think it's difficult to move him to tackle. If let's just say on the Jets, I think it's a little difficult to tackle. If you say went to the Cardinals or the Vikings, like I got a couple teams that could use a tackle, a little more than the Jets. Not like the Jets don't need a tackle, but a little more than the Jets. Then maybe you give it a chance and maybe kind of see how he feels there. And if it doesn't work out, kick him inside. Like he's going to be more than okay there. With the Jets though, keep him at guard, and then hopefully you can get your tackle in 2022 or 2023 drafts, or maybe via trade with all of our picks or whatever. I think we keep him at left guard, and then that, like I said, that duo with Mekhi Becton and Elijah Vera Tucker is going to be so much fun to watch. I wouldn't be able to compose myself. I know guard isn't sexy, but like honestly, that's my number one. That's my dream pick at 23.
Yeah, I think a lot of Jets fans share that sentiment as well. And that's going to wrap up our 7-round mock draft. And in turn, it's going to wrap up the show. If you're watching this live, there are less than 24 hours until the NFL draft. Whatever you're doing, make sure you have NFL Network on in the background, but on your laptop or on your phone, have the U Stadium virtual draft party. It's going to be an incredible show. CJ Mosley, Jamison Crowder, Melon Fonwu. We're going to have Hunter Henry, some other guests as well. Scott Mason's going to be hosting. The U Stadium timeout guys are going to be in and out all night with Nick and the team. Myself and Clay will make some appearances. It is going to be incredible. We cannot wait. Clay, it's going to be a great day tomorrow, and I am pumped, man.
Dude, I'm excited. What time is it starting for you?
So it's, where are we? In the States, it starts at 8 o'clock, so 10 a.m. my time. So I've got my birthday tomorrow. I've taken the day off work. I'm going to be, up in front of the TV, laptop on my lap, and it's going to be a good day.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. This is the day that we've all been waiting for this since my birthday, which is late September. I'm hoping by my birthday this year, we're not already begging for the draft.
Please.
Here, we're one day away. We just have to get through the last 24 hours, just under, and then we're in the home stretch, and it's just, I'm excited. I can't wait to see what guys we get for this scheme. I'm ready to see Robert Saleh on the sidelines, and I'm just gonna ramble. I'm just so excited. It's literally Christmas and my birthday put together.
Thanks again to Anthony Schwartz for joining us. He was fantastic, an awesome dude, and I can't wait to see him in the NFL with that speed. He's going to be the fastest guy in the NFL, or very close to it. Thanks to producer Splash. You did a great job as always. Guys, we are going to see you next week to wrap up the draft, hopefully talk about all the picks we loved from Douglas and Sulla and the team. From Play Like a Jet Live, myself and Clay, thanks. Enjoy tomorrow night. We'll see you at the virtual draft party, and good luck tomorrow for the NFL draft.